Happy Saturday, everybody. It's Mira Morton. Who am I? Mira Morton, aka the Bossy Coach. And I got smart this week after screwing up last week with a low battery in my microphone, and I did a test Facebook post. And so hopefully you can hear this one awesome, good volume, no white noise. I appreciate those of you who persevered last week and watched the video anyway. Mostly I was trying to talk about why it is that you might want to be intuitive. So I'm not going to recap all of that today, but I wanted to kind of dive into something that I've seen come up a couple times this week in my wanderings. I had posted a quote earlier this week about, that we kind of getting at this idea that we don't want to take responsibility for our own choices. But we resent other people when they make choices for us. So we kind of sit around in indecision a lot of the time. We get kind of paralyzed, not sure which way we should go, thinking that everybody else is responsible for why we can't do the things that we want to do, and then we get mad at them for that. But then we don't actually go out and take responsibility for the things we can take responsibility for. And the reason we don't want to take responsibility for things is that, it could go wrong, right? It could go wrong. There's the right way to do things and there's the wrong way to do things. We have this belief, and because we believe that, we become afraid of doing it wrong. We don't want to make mistakes. Even if we think we do, we really spend quite a significant amount of time trying to avoid making mistakes. And often the way we avoid making mistakes is by avoiding doing things or avoiding deliberately choosing things. Instead, we just let them choose us. We kind of ride along as a passenger in our life and then get frustrated by that, but we're afraid to choose wrong, so we just don't choose. And I watch myself do this a lot, but I watch a lot of people do this. So most of you know that I'm a newly certified coach, and we're in this giant Slack channel with 1,000 coaches, and everybody's freaking out, trying to figure out how to create their business niche and their websites and the content and find clients. And it's terrifying for all of us because we're completely outside of our comfort zone. And one of the people that I'm working with in a little mastermind group that I'm in, she is now paralyzed in indecision about her niche. She's got 2 different niches that she wants to do, both of which would be totally fine, and she won't make up her mind. And as a result, until she makes up her mind, she's not going to build her program. She may make some clients, but they're not going to be in a niche. She hasn't picked one. She can't target any of her marketing. She just is kind of stuck. And as we were talking a little bit through the Slack channel, it became clear that she's waiting to feel excited or inspired by one of them, right? And until that happens, she's just kind of stuck and waiting. And you may know that you do this, right? I do this, where we're kind of waiting for the light to shine down. And then this is the moment, and now I know that this is the thing. And one of the things about intuition, even if the light does kind of shine down and you have the intuitive hit where you kind of know something, it's so brief, you guys. It's not long. It doesn't stay there and keep shining on you. You just get this little moment of knowing that you should go there. That's all you get. It's not that helpful. It is helpful. But you have to kind of know it's brief, and then there's just your brain freaking out about it, right? And that's what is happening to this person, is that she had this moment where she was like, I could do this. And then she picked it, and then her brain was like, but maybe that's not the right one, right? And then I was actually in a Facebook group yesterday. I'm in a group for Eckhart Tolle's community, and somebody was trying to figure out if they should reach out to somebody or not. And I think what they were kind of getting at in their post was that they had this urge, they had this desire to reach out to someone, and they were kind of trying to figure out, is that my intuition? They didn't use that word, but I think that's what they meant. Am I supposed to reach out to them and that's why I want to? Or do I just want to for some other messier reason? And what all of this kind of gets to, I think, is that we have this, we kind of want to learn and develop intuition because we think that if we develop it, that it will make all of the choices clear for us. I'll have intuition, and then we'll know, and then it'll be easy to choose. And yeah, it might be hard to do the thing once I've chosen it, and I might be out of my comfort zone, but like I'll know that I chose correctly, right? And we're waiting for clarity and more light, and we're waiting for feelings that are like inspired. We're waiting for doubt to go away, and we're waiting for it to stay away. Even more than that, right? That it's just going to become super easy. And that is really not how it works, unfortunately. Instead, you got to do things in order to develop your intuition, which is actually what I commented to that person, that what if none of the choices are wrong? What if no matter what you do and no matter what happens, that's exactly what was supposed to happen? Like you chose the exact thing you were supposed to choose to learn what you learned on the other side. What if instead of it being wrong and you having chosen badly and this being a negative outcome, what if all of the outcomes in all of the possible choices that you have in your life are good? What if they all are good because they're teaching you things and they're helping you discern better why you choose, understand better, like, oh, I had all these thoughts that were driving that choice and I wasn't super aware of them while I was choosing it, but now in hindsight, I can see that that's kind of what was driving that choice. Like, good to know. I can watch out for those thoughts in the future, right? So instead of beating yourself up when you make a choice that you think turned out badly, you could be curious about, why did I make that choice? And then you learn a little bit more. And I think this is exactly how we develop our intuition. We just start choosing and acting. And then when we look at how things played out, we can go back if we don't like them. Like you have to actually do things and not like the outcome in order for this to work, if you think about it. You do something, you don't like the outcome, and then you go back and you're like, okay, well, I thought I was following my gut. I thought I was following my intuition, but what actually happened? And usually when you reflect back, you can start to see what you were actually doing, how you were kind of second guessing and cluttering up whatever guidance you had with all of your thoughts about whatever. Actually, I have a super silly example about this that I may have even talked about before, related to my dining room chairs. My designer we were picking up designing chairs for the dining room, and we actually came up on a style of chair that we both liked, and we agreed on that. But then it was like the color of the chair, okay? And we picked out all sorts of fun colors, and I kind of thought I was on board with the color. And then I was like, I don't know if I really like, I don't know. And she was like, this chair, I found the chair, the price is awesome, it's the style you want, this is what we're doing. And I was like, and so eventually I talked myself into it because like she was so sure about it that I was like, okay, even though I kind of had this nagging thing where I was like, I don't know, I kind of want purple. And then I also had this thought that like, I don't see any purple chairs that are in the style I want. So it's going to be really hard to find what I actually want. And so some combination of wanting to borrow her confidence about the decision of what color chairs we should pick, and not being confident that I could go find something quickly that I liked better, I just kind of went for it. And at first I was kind of like, oh, it's fine, totally doing what I should be doing, made an easy decision. I'm a good decision maker. I'm good at pressing the button. I have that advantage. And then we ordered them. As soon as we ordered them, I was like, I didn't really want these chairs. Like, very clearly, I didn't really want these chairs. And I knew I didn't really want the chairs, and I ordered them anyway. And I was so frustrated with myself that I didn't just admit to myself before we ordered them that I didn't really want them, and that all the reasons why I was ordering them were like not good reasons. Like I didn't like those reasons. And so I was like, okay, well, I probably can't do much about it, but I'll try. So I emailed my designer and I said, hey, is it still possible to cancel the orders of the chairs? And it wasn't. All the chairs were coming, and I was like, okay, it's fine. I'll just deal with it. I'm sure the chairs will be lovely. And they are. I'm fine with them. I'm not sitting around beating myself up still. But it was a really good learning moment for me when I reflected back on why it is, like what were the thoughts that caused me to override the decision to keep looking and waiting, and like what was it that happened that caused me to second guess. And now I'm like a little bit more onto myself, like a little bit more sensitive to the fact that these are the reasons I tend to override the things that I want. And so I've learned something. It's going to help me. It's my dog barking because we have a pager here. So disregard the barking. But I've learned a little bit more about what it is that, that goes on in my mind that caused me to override what I really wanted. And I sensed that moment of clarity afterwards that I'm like, this isn't really what you wanted. You kind of knew that. You kind of did it anyway. And this is why. So it's better. I learned something. It was valuable. I didn't choose the wrong chairs. I had a really valuable experience that taught me a little bit more about why sometimes I choose things that I don't actually want. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of bring this home because I think a lot of you may be out there waiting for the light to shine down, or waiting for it to stay shining, like where the doubt just stays gone, and that's never going to come. Instead, the process is actually to go out and take responsibility for your choices and take responsibility for the fact that sometimes they don't go in ways that you like or it didn't turn out the way you wanted, and that's completely okay. And that this experience is here to help teach you a little bit more about what was going on for you when you made the choice. Because as you get more and more and more aware of what goes on for you and what thoughts you think that cause you to override what you want, you get cleaner and cleaner and more able to follow what it is that you want, which is your intuition. So intuition isn't something that once you have it, it's easy and clear and doubt-free. Intuition is something that you develop by doing things when it's not easy and clear and doubt-free, and then learning from what happens. And that means learning from outcomes you don't like, right? Like if it goes well, you don't learn anything, except maybe that you're like, oh yeah, that worked. I was following my intuition. You learn the most when it doesn't go the way that you hoped it would go. And so rather than feeling like you ruined it, you did it wrong, you're not intuitive, you can't trust your own judgment, be like, oh yeah, these are great learning opportunities. Let me go figure out why I chose the way that I did. It clearly didn't turn out the way that I expected. I wonder why I expected it to turn out differently. I wonder what I was thinking. And then I can clean that up and start to be on to myself when I think those thoughts. So I hope that this idea is helpful for you and resonates with some of you. I know for me, I've really been in this process where you just choose and learn, choose and learn, choose and learn. And I've had such amazing understandings that have come from that process. And I hope that some of you can have had similar experiences, or maybe you will after watching this. And I would love to hear you hear about them. So please share them in my page. I also want to ask those of you who are following, I know a lot of you are following because you were friends of mine on Facebook and I invited you to follow my page. Some of you have actually been invited by people that I'm related to. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, cousin. And so you may be, patiently following me, but not necessarily super interested in intuition, or you might be like, well, this is unexpectedly interesting. But you may know other people who are totally interested in this too, and I would love to invite them to the conversation and kind of grow this community and grow this conversation a little bit. So if you would do me a favor, if you're liking this or know somebody that you think would really like it, you obviously don't have to keep following me if you don't really like it. I won't be offended. But if you know somebody that is, it would be awesome if you would share either this live or this Facebook page with them so we can kind of grow the community and that conversation. And I'm still working on getting a freebie together for all of you, so I'll be posting that soon, if not this week, in the next week or two. And so I'd love to just keep talking with you. If you're interested in working with me, send me a message. We can set up a mini session. Stay tuned for the freebie if you're kind of more curious about this. And I'll be talking to you throughout the week now, and then Facebook Live next Friday. If you have something you're specifically dying to know about or think about or talk about related to intuition, feel free to send me a message and you can be my inspiration for next week's live. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.